Hello, friends, family, and everyone in between. You are listening to the FillGood podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mike Osgood.
I'm another one of your hosts, Byron Filler.
And on this podcast, we chat with interesting people that we know, and we ask them about what makes them feel good and what's the good that they put out in the world. And speaking of good, Byron, what's good in your world? How's it going, bud?
Well, post-wedding, life is kind of returned back to normal, trying to figure out, what to do with myself and juggling so many different things. One of the fun things I'm excited about and exploring right now is doing more research about NFTs. Yeah, so a little bit of background is, so I'm working on a project for my dad that's been going on. I'll just cut to the chase. In high school, my dad was a rock and roll photographer.
Whoa.
I know.
Not just like a rock and roll photographer, like a fucking good one.
Yeah, so basically, he took photography in high school and brought his camera everywhere with him. He went to a bunch of different shows. He went and saw, Bob Dylan, Led Zeppelin, The Who, and has got some really cool shots. Also, just some really cool stories from taking those shots that are, you can't imagine being... living during that era, seeing those bands, but you get to see these amazing photos. And so a couple years ago, my dad's just had his photos in a box sitting in the garage since he was 18. Because he obviously did not become a photographer. He went and became an accountant. So he's just had all these photos sitting there, collecting dust for years. And because of my own passion for film photography within the past couple of years, I happened to have all of the equipment to clean film, digitize it, and restore everything. So my sister and I pulled together a little project to be able to just to show him what he has, because I don't think he ever has really been able to see what he has and really understand the gravity of and the history that he has in these photos, especially them just being never before seen. He's never done anything with these.
That's crazy.
I know. So we showed it to him, and once he saw, we made him a book of just all the shots that he has, and once we presented it to him the way that we saw it, he kind of just said, okay, you know what? Yeah, let's do something with this. Because at the end of the day, if I can get my dad to admit that he was cool, I'll be happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
The photos that you showed me are just outstanding. Quality, how close he was able to get, and just, oh my God, it was fucking awesome.
Yeah. I think I showed you, so I'll tell you one of the stories he told me is more like a moment, because I was showing you photos from The Who, and he was telling me about how he got picked up by the crowd. He got so close to the stage and they're moshing, and he had a choice: take a photo with the potential of falling flat on his face, he was lifted up in the air. So it's take a photo, or grab people's shoulders, figure out your situation. He chose taking a photo and ended up with one of, just all of these amazing shots.
Yeah.
Rock and roll gods
Icons.
in action. Yeah. That's the kind of level of you don't get that in a crowd of people who are holding up their cell phones as an alternative to lighters at a concert. That doesn't happen.
Rock and roll was completely different back then, and the fact that your dad was able to kind of capture that raw essence back then is brilliant.
Yeah.
But how does that lead to NFTs?
So we're looking at NFTs as the mechanism, the option to sell his work, and especially because the space is so new and it's all about collectors really, having work that is never before seen, is a lot more lucrative than just like putting it up in a gallery or like making a book out of it. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I think, again, like trying to get the most widespread recognition for him is my goal. And I know it's for him, a dollar value will help him validate the actual value of this history. So this seems like the most logical route to take. But the whole world of NFTs is wild. I'll talk a little bit. Yeah, I'll have a little bit more in the future to actually say about it when I know more. But this is going to be an ongoing story when I have more. I promise, Phil Goody Two Shoes, where you're going to hear all about when these photos release. We're going to make a summer concert series out of it, so to speak.
We should.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I think we could book the Who. They're still doing their thing, so
we
got that power. We can pull them.
But until I have photos to share, Mike, what is good with you? What's going on?
Oh, I start a new job next week, so so excited about that. And then when this comes out, I'll be starting it. But I'm taking a couple days to myself. I slept in today.
Good.
And I'm more tired. Don't know how that happened.
Isn't that a mystery? Like you go to bed, you
thing.
Sleep well, and it's like, why am I still groggy? Why?
9 hours of sleep, and I'm like, what? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I had that happen. Let's see. What else is good with me? Besides taking a little mini vacay, just soaking up life, just having a little bit of relaxation before the chaos of starting a new job kicks in. So relaxing, kind of taking some moments to myself, playing some video games because that's what makes me feel good sometimes. It gives me that mental stimulation. And I started cooking again this week.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What are you cooking?
I don't usually do cooking in our apartment. I kind of leave that to Alexia because she is the way better chef than I am. But I did a Parmesan chicken and kale medley thing, and it was yummy.
I'm hungry.
Yummy.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, I was very happy and impressed with myself. I was like, ooh, this is like,
I mean, you made the right choice of putting cheese on it.
Of course. It's hard to fuck something up when you put cheese on it, but it was delicious. I was very happy with myself. So
I feel like, I will say, I feel like cooking is a lot easier than like people give it credit. Like, in order to master, yes, you have to be a really good chef, but like I think even before I went to college, like my dad taught me like how to cook an egg and boil some water, and once you like know those two things, you're gonna be fine.
See, I had one incident where I almost chopped off my thumb, and it kind of set my cooking back a lot. As I was like, oh god, I'm just scared of the kitchen now. Just trying to be cool, trying to chop an onion, and then I got like 99% through, and then sliced the top of my thumb like almost off, and
Ow.
yeah, and got a bunch of stitches and watched Dragon Ball Z while they were putting the stitches in. It was great. But ever since then, I've been kind of cautious with doing things in the kitchen, and then faced my fears and made some yummy food. I was like, all right, cool. So
I can teach you some good, safe, like, knife cutting techniques, because there
Please.
is a way to really, like, do it with, like, so instead of, like, doing it like this with your, like, your fingertips on, like, do it with your, like, nails.
Yeah,
you gotta
like,
do it with your nails. Yeah, you
paw
kind of gotta paw it.
I also got master class, so Gordon Ramsay's gonna teach me how to cut things as well.
Then he's got this.
Exactly.
Gordon Ramsay has got this.
Yeah.
As long as he'll do it with a little light screaming. but he's
that's
got
exactly
this.
what I need in my life. But you want to know what else everybody else needs in their life? This interview today
Oh,
with
yes.
the amazingly hilarious, adventurous,
Yeah.
and just all around badass Elizabeth Francis.
I laughed the whole time.
We laughed. We talk about like some surprisingly serious things, and it
And
was just
laughed
great.
all the way through it because
Yeah.
it was just that's who she is, an exuberantly positive person who's excited about those challenging conversations.
She is. But a little bit about Liz before we hop in. You have probably seen her in Netflix's series Love. And she's also on FX's Mayans MC as she plays Katrina on there. And also, you'll probably see a variety of her projects coming out in the near future. She has so many things going on. But we don't want to tell her story. We're going to let her tell her story. So,
Absolutely.
Byron, shall we get into this interview? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody else, hello. It's a FillGood podcast. And we are here today with our super lovely, awesome, badass adventure lady, also known as Liz Francis. Liz, how the hell are you doing?
What up? Pew, 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 pew. I wanted to give myself a foghorn.
You, I will do what I can to find a sound effect of foghorns for you.
I appreciate it.
No problem. But how you doing, girl? How you doing?
I'm doing good. You know, I'm vaccinated. The world's
Hell yeah.
opening back up soon. I see people outside. It's
What,
a new normal, man.
What team are you rocking? Are you
I'm
Pfizer or are you
rocking-
Moderna?
I'm Team Moderna.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I got Pfizer.
Oh, you got the Pfizer?
The
Yeah.
Pfizer, yes.
Yeah.
Did you have any side effects?
Yes, I did. It was only after the second shot that it was just... I was just really tired and had some body aches for the most part and maybe a headache, but it was a day, and that was it.
That's awesome. I did not.
I didn't
had-
either.
Really?
I'm surprised about you not having any because let us know if you're willing to chat about this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah? Okay. Liz had COVID.
I did.
Yeah.
I had COVID. I got it. I got it from, I'm pretty sure I got it from a sound booth, oddly enough, in Los Angeles. Or it was either there or a Starbucks bathroom in Los Angeles.
Both
Probably.
are
I'm
very
gonna-
strong.
Those are
I'm in
literally the
LA.
only two places.
I'm in LA, and I would just blame this whole city, just blanket blame of the whole city.
Yes.
I was staying in San Diego, and I was like, oh, I got to go to LA for work one day. And I thought on the way back, my mother-in-law was coming to stay. And I was like, you know what? Let's just test just in case. Didn't feel anything. And 2 days later, it was a positive, and I was like, I don't feel anything. This can't be real. No way. It was crazy.
I was going to say, did you have any issues with scent or did you lose your taste? Did that kick in?
So I did. So at first, like the day the positive result came back, I literally was like, I kept testing my temperature. I have a blood oximeter. Like I did the whole thing. And I was like,
shit.
everything's normal. This doesn't make sense. And like later that day, and okay, truth be told, it was also literally like the night before the election.
Oh.
Oh wow.
So I was like, am I going to be quarantined during this election?
Oh, I didn't even think
Oh,
about that. Oh, God.
Yes. So it was like, so I literally was quarantined in a room alone in my house, like from all the people that I like, all the people, but from my husband and my mother-in-law, like, and they're quarantined in the house, going literally kind of like, walking, talking on the iPhones or yelling downstairs, like, what's happening? They're still counting. Okay, I'm coming downstairs to just make some food, and literally would put like gloves on.
The alarms start going off. And then
it was like, she's here, put on your, and all I felt for me, knock on wood, was the most mild cold I'd ever had. That I really was like, I don't have it, but I still treated it, did the whole quarantine, everything. But 2 days later, I did lose my taste and smell for 2 days. And I was like, oh, I did have it. And so then, since then, I have been donating plasma regularly with the Red Cross so that they can have my antibodies.
That is awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna give you a clap.
Thanks.
I'm gonna give you a clap.
Me too.
You're a real life superhero.
Make something good out of a not so good situation.
Yes.
And everything's useful.
Very much so.
I was gonna say making some damn good omelets with some broken eggs.
Yes.
Exactly. Also,
Lots.
the Red Cross gives you Cheez-Its for free, and they show you a movie. So, I mean,
This is the content that we're trying to put out. So, spreading the good. Speaking of good, like I mentioned, everybody, we're chatting with Liz Francis. Liz Francis is
hey.
an actress. She is a
Yeah.
writer. She
Yeah.
is basically Laura Croft in many ways. Just genuine, all-around adventurous. And also,
Self-described rowdy mermaid.
Yes.
But Liz, thank you so much for being here. We very much
Oh.
appreciate it. But before we get to know you even more, before we start learning about all the things good, we must address the bad. And we are going to go into our moment of bad, where we spend 60 seconds and we'll each dispel one thing that's been bothering us. I will start now. My moment of bad is road litter. This is litter that just happens to be on the highway. And, you're having to duck, dodge, dip, dive, and dodge out of traffic to try to not hit this.
Say that 5 times
That.
fast.
And on my way back from Byron's wedding, it was either run over one of those 5-gallon neon orange Home Depot buckets or hit a car. And I had to run over this 5-gallon bucket in my brand new Mazda CX-30. And now I have to take my car to the shop next week to go get the front of it. So I'm going to take this road litter and I'm going to gather it in a bag and I'm going to make it be gone. I'm just out of here.
I was going to
Bam.
say road letter like dear bucket. I hate you. Love, Mike.
Dear empty big gulp cup. Why did that trucker throw you out? You're totally reusable.
Big gone.
Big gone. Byron, what's bad with you?
So it's just gonna be a little bit of a rant. I'm gonna start with my bike got stolen out of my garage last week, and it got stolen because the garage itself is just finicky. If I come up into my apartment and just like even touch it a little bit, the garage opens. If I stand right in front of it and press the dongle as hard as I can, it does not open. Sometimes I'm leaving. It'll just go all the way down and then be like, nope, psych. So I had a situation where, and we have a parking neighbor who left and didn't realize that it wasn't shut because it did the nope psych kind of situation. Luckily, like, we have video from like security video, and I filed the police report. But the bad that I'm leading up to is that it's more about how it has affected me this week. And my bad is about just like fucking how the universe just keeps coming back to just screw me over from shit that's just out of my control. It just sucked. Like, basically, Lyft would not work for me because I had to go to a doctor's appointment, and it's just far enough that like you can bike there, but like far enough away that it'd take hours to walk. And this wouldn't have fucking happened if my garage worked. So, begone universe and your swinging dongle that isn't working.
I'm spitting.
Yeah, it's just peace out. Peace out, universe of negativity.
Right.
Be gone with your
Goodbye.
bad self.
Bye, Felicia.
Felicia.
Bye. Bye,
Hello,
Felicia.
Liz. What is your bad?
On a plus, you did get to use the word
You did.
dongle appropriately.
You did.
Which is
It's
amazing.
definitely like a good $10 word that is just fun to
Yeah.
say.
Oh, God.
I want a moment of bad with the word dongle in it just so I can say dongle.
Honestly, it was just the only word that I could think of that was just appropriate enough.
I will Venmo you $1 if you can find a way to incorporate dongle into your moment of bad.
Oh, okay. You're my witnesses. Okay. So I'm going to do this in 60 seconds.
Oh.
Just watch. Boom. So I've got two. The nerdy one is I've been reading a lot, and finally I sit down and get to watch and binge Invincible, which I fucking loved. If you've read the comic, it's Kirkman. It's awesome. And then it was done. And I couldn't watch it anymore.
Oh, no.
And I was like, no. But it has been renewed for seasons 2 and 3. So
Beautiful.
wonderful. A more adult bad, which is very girly, is so right before the last shutdown, when everything was at its peak, things had opened again, and I had immunity because I was, the immunity gauntlet after having COVID. And I was like, oh my God, I've been at the beach so much, I can finally stop shaving and go get a Brazilian again. So I go and I get a Brazilian. I'm like, yes, I'm back on the train. I'm 13 again. This is great. And then everything shuts down. And I'm like, no, I have to start shaving again. This is terrible. So finally, literally today before this podcast, in the spirit of FillGood, we have started the Brazilian train again. And it was painful, but it was worth it.
All aboard.
And we're all aboard that train.
Shaving be gone.
And, and I sat there thinking, gosh, I just wish I had a dongle to distract me that I could play with. Did I do it?
Son of a bitch. I was hoping she'd forget. You want to know what? I'll take this $1. I'll take this $1. I'll make it be gone. Okay? Okay.
That was worth all 100
Yes,
cents.
it sure was. Holy crap. You
All
did
the
do that
100
in
cents.
2 minutes. I am impressed.
I did. So 60
did.
seconds each? You get a choice there? Got family friendly? Not
They're
so family
both
friendly.
going in. For those of whom may not know you, that may not have seen you in the shows that you have been in, whatever.
It's the majority of the
You want to know
world.
what?
I'm still trying to know me.
Well,
so.
why don't you tell us your identity crisis and let us know who you think you are. And
This is who.
Yeah.
Oh, very
exactly
meta.
who you think you are. But also,
Yeah.
too, like all good superheroes, what is your origin story? Tell us about who you are, where you came from.
Ooh, where I
you
came
came
from. If I was a superhero too, or if I could be one, I definitely would pick Mystique, because I just think that she can chameleon into anyone and any version of herself is just so.
Do you think
dope.
Mystique
So-
can Mystique speak different languages when she takes on?
I feel like she can, I feel like she gets the skill set somewhat.
No, I think it's just
to learn
a
it?
visual. I think she's a good actor and able to play the part, but I think it's just the voice.
So she's just like, and now I'm an old Russian man. She's like,
I mean,
which
look,
sounded more like Borat. I don't know.
Better.
I have a lot of confidence in her being smart enough to learn these languages and do the work, because that's what she'd do. She's Mystique.
Really, that just means like I'm so ready for the world to open back up and
Yeah.
to like work as an actress
Exactly.
again. That's really what
Yes.
that means. My origin story. So I was. It was this nice day in Okinawa, Japan, and little Lizzie was born. I was born in Okinawa, Japan. My dad was in the military. He was in the Marine Corps. And then eventually we moved to Southern California. So I actually spent most of my life. I grew up in San Diego, the whale's vagina. um, Beautiful place, but in Oceanside, California, which now is all like coffee shops and microbreweries, but back then was like it was rough. Like we were like it was rough.
They've got a Legoland down there.
There's a Legoland now. I grew up here. I always like loved to play sports. Mixed kid, but so were all the other military brats. And grew up here. Somewhere along the way, stumbled upon theater when I think in third grade, some lady told my parents, I don't know, like she should be an actress. And I was like, what's that? Because I would just get bored in school. And I think there was a rainforest poem or something that we were all supposed to read. And I was like, well, if I'm going to deliver this like really boring poem, I'm going to make it entertaining. And suddenly it was like, wait, this is a job? What's a job in third grade? And so I started acting. It was kind of more like middle school, I think. There was a theater here in town in Oceanside, California, where I took the city bus to this woman, Elaine Widehour, who was amazing. And I just was like, I want to join, teach me Shakespeare. This like presumptuous kid. She's like, all right. And I would just like, do all the plays. And then she also was at this like Army Navy Academy, which was a boys' school, and they needed girls. So that's where I like played basically I like grew up. My teenage years were spent playing like mothers. I don't know what that means. I was like, why am I always the mom? No, I never play the mom. Was always outdoorsy, I used to outrigger canoe when on a team. I played basketball. I was never really great at any of those sports. I was just physical, probably because I just didn't, my feet definitely aren't coordinated. Somewhere along the way, there were awkward years that still continue. And then I ended up going to college at CalArts, California Institute of the Arts. Some call it the Juilliard of the West Coast. I call it this wonderful, wonderful like artistic mecca where I made many close friends, got to like spend 4 years completely in my métier as an actor, but also was encouraged to like think outside the box and dabble, and it was very experimental. It also had a no censorship policy, so also was like insane, creatively.
So this is just natural setup for you right here.
This is pretty much. It was just a place for me to put my insanity, and put on as Mystique, put on my many identities, especially being mixed, and I've always loved storytelling. And I say storytelling because I think like acting is definitely like in theater my first love, and that's where it's always like church, like you go back to the theater and it's like, oh, it's church.
What about storytelling got you? Like what was that moment that the bug bit you and you were like, I absolutely just love telling stories?
I mean, in a small way that I think has hopefully matured over time. Even thinking of like that day in third grade and being like, if we're gonna do this, why don't we make people feel something? And I always think of like being a storyteller as, we are in the unique position that I do think carries both great opportunities and great responsibility, that our job is to make people feel. I don't know how many doctors friggin' save lives or fix your tonsils, and that's their job, and our job is to make society feel things and see themselves in someone else, whether someone who doesn't look like them or someone who doesn't live the same type of life, who has different sexuality or gender or story, and And it's this magical place where, and I think this of all art, where people, and I've seen it, and theater I love because I get to see the effect in real time, with a live audience. But I mean, it's the same when you leave a premiere and you're like, how do people, what do they think, or what do they, when they say things on Twitter, or you get like letters or DMs or whatever.
Yeah.
That it's the one place, whether it's music, visual art, filmmaking, theater, that it's the one place that people are willingly arresting themselves in order to empathize with whoever the characters are in front of them, with whatever that story is. And I think that it makes the world, or allows people to try to see that we're just all so much more alike than different. We all have very different intricacies. We all have very different specific individual ways of doing things. But I just believe that if we can just understand each other, that in that's enough. We always want to do something, but like, instead of being prescriptive, if we just seek to understand one another more, the world would be a better place.
100.
That's why I love
really
storytelling.
That could have said it better.
You were telling us just now about like performing in the theater, going to church. You've also done screen acting. Like, what is it that is? Do you prefer theater acting over screen acting? Are they just different, or is it what's staying fresh for you in either or both of those spaces?
Definitely both. I love. They're different. It's almost like I don't know. I'm not a musician. I've played the cello. I grew up playing the cello. Ooh, fun. So I can jam a little bit on the cello. But it's right, different things. Like, even when I'm on a set and there's like, you're never alone. You have a crew, even if you're in an indie and have a small crew, or you're on like a big television production, you have a giant crew. There's still a theater to it, but it's almost like theater versus like film and television it's also like the way you craft it is like, okay, I'm going to live this entire ride and this entire story in this one night. And so, and you get to have like the luxury of having a rehearsal process and the reps in and that time with your fellow actors. But you also have the unique challenge of, I think the last play I did was actually in San Francisco, and I try to do theater at least once a year if I can. We were doing 9 shows a week, and it was, I don't know how long was that show, like 2.5 hours or something, or I don't know. And 9 shows a week over several months.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, there's a unique challenge of how is this fresh tonight? Who I am in the world today, or what's going on in the world today, have a thread in this story tonight, or how my fellow actor feels. Or whereas film and TV, you don't get as many takes, you don't get the rehearsal process. So in a way, you're kind of like jumping in the pool, but the freshness of it is really exciting. And it's I don't know, they're just different beacons. It's like one is like Crayola markers, and the other one is like a laser, because it's like that camera's in your face and this close, and you can kind of see yourself a little in it if you peek too hard. And
or it almost seems like with theater different. You're getting a little bit more in a weird way, you're getting more chances and a little bit more distance, just having the time with that material, as opposed to you get the time on set when you're having to do multiple takes, but once that scene is done, you're done with that for the rest of the day, the rest of time.
Yeah, you'll shoot. I shot I think in a whole season, there was one season I think I was in Texas for 6 months, and I shot a total of 18 days. Now, there were long days sometimes, but you go, okay, I'm spreading, and you got these, chunks that it's a different like brain sequencing, because you're mapping this character for yourself, and then going, okay, what are we shooting today? Okay, what already happened? what didn't happen yet, but I know is going to happen, and how am I building from there in these moments. But the beauty of that too is, unlike the theater's intimate in a way that everybody is there together, film and TV is intimate in a way that the facilities of like my voice and my body, there's a different requirement, because I could whisper to my scene partner who's right there, and I'm mic'd, and there's a camera there, and it will just catch everything, which is initially terrifying and also very exciting.
I would say too, just doing some kind of stage work as well. There's something to be said about also just kind of the immediate gratification / feedback of a live audience in stage work, as opposed to more screen work of the show. It's sort of in one hand, you are in control of the story that you are telling, whereas with screen, you're kind of at the mercy of a person like Byron, of the editor, who's putting together all the stories.
God bless editors. I always make friends with editors. I'm like, my work is in your hands.
Post-production is crazy, the things that you can do. I appreciate when actually people take that consideration for pre-production.
One thing that I really want to know from you is what it's like to have your church get taken away. You had, for someone who lives, eats, sleeps performing and being on a stage or being in front of a camera, and then you had last year.
Oof.
How was that for you?
You know, it's so funny that you say this. I've been talking to a dear friend of mine who honestly is like, has been a Broadway guy for years and years and years. I mean, he was like, this is the first time in 17 years I have not been on stage. And as a performer, I admit it, like, I need more attention than most people. It's just how I'm built. It's like, it's how many of us are built. And also I think that there's things that is in both a place to put the work, but a place to, like, I mean, for myself, I can only speak for myself, but a place to where I sort of digest my world, and then a place to process it with other people. And to have that all taken away, you know, the first 3 months of COVID, I literally was testing for 2 different shows days before, not even days, the day of shutdown. And we were like, okay, see ya. Not sure what's going to happen. And it, at first, you know, when we all were like, how long is this going to last? At first it was cute. I don't know the last time. I was like, this is cute. Look at me. Look, honey, I'm home every day. Look at me. In your face.
Yeah.
Pay attention to me. Look at me. Oh my gosh, I'm baking all the time. Look at me. How cool. Look at this, like, role of domesticity that I'm, like, acting out. Like, it became kind of all of these new roles that were cool for a second. And then I was like, oh man, shit, I don't have my place to put it. And I'm very fortunate that when I'm not working, I'm always in class, because I feel like, you know, if I was an Olympic athlete, I wouldn't not go to the gym in the off season. So as an actor, for me, for myself, I want to keep growing regardless of whether there's a role there or not. So I'm always in class, and our class had gone to Zoom. So thank God Monday nights I had like a sort of a virtual church. Still not the same, but it was something. But months in,
it's like going to a Catholic church and not getting the bread and cookies.
You're like, where's the, and even, like, you know, I shot I shot Mayans the end of last year, and came back to that show, and even that, with all the face shields and all the, like, I was like, man, this is the most impersonal version of what we do that I've ever experienced. And it was sad, because it was like, okay, great. And I had to, like, work with a kid, and and it was like, okay, I need to hold this kid, feel comfortable. I need this kid to feel comfortable, like he's my son, you know, and then work with my, you know, fellow actress. And it's like, great, cut, face shields on, last looks, go to your like separate corners. And it was so different. And I was like, we're making it work, but it's definitely not the same. And not having church, I think adventure and the ocean, that those things became my church. Like, I've always loved the ocean. I've always loved being outside, but I think it was such a busy life before, that I just fully took advantage of the outdoors in a way, and reconnecting honestly with myself, and probably some coping mechanisms that were taken away, that I was like, okay, I have an opportunity here to like sit with myself and grow. And I took it, and I was like, all right. And the ocean absolutely became like my church during this period of time, because it was the place that I felt most present and alive. You know, because I didn't have my church. And it's like being an NBA player and then going like, by the way, you can't play basketball anymore. And like, you're like, oh, but I've my whole life. Third grade, right? Middle school. You go, I've always had this. Where do I put this? And what if, you know, what if it doesn't come back? And what if, and I have friends that have had, we've all talked about it, I think, particularly tough times with this. So I'm excited that it's coming back, but I used it as an opportunity to go, okay, so if this, let's say this, what is this all about? Like, what is this place for me? And what is it both, you know, how is it both a part of me, but how is it maybe supplementing for some things that I need to face about myself? Yeah. And I just took this as a chance, you know, utilized it as a chance to work on myself.
Well, let's dig deeper into this water world that you have found, of being able to go out and find your identity in more of these adventures. And like, tell us what you found about yourself. What are some of the things that you have grown to love that have made you feel good in these moments?
Oh, totally. I have been free diving a fuck ton.
Yes.
I learned to surf. I've always wanted to learn to surf. And shout out to my friend, Lip Smack Surf, if you're in LA. That is my Broadway friend who took it as an opportunity to create his own business, because he was like, Broadway's not coming back anytime soon. Yeah. He's from Oahu. He's great, everybody. He taught me, and I caught a wave on my first day.
When I went to Bali and I got surf lessons, my guy taught me something in like 5 minutes. I got up, but then I also crashed hard and got a gnarly scratch across my chest from the blades of the board.
Oh, no.
And then I was like, cool, I'm done. And then I drank a lot of beers to supplement.
Oh, no.
I'll send you guys pictures of it. It's
I
pretty
do
fun.
want to see this.
It's nothing too bad. But so you started free diving, you started surfing.
Yeah.
And what was it about these things that unlocked that little super happy Liz?
It was you know what it was? It was I think like getting to appreciate the world around me, and like having the time to do it. Whereas, you know, with some combination of FOMO and the hustle of like, you know, the industry and life in general, I won't lie. I think that I still had it, but it was like I was stealing those moments before, instead of going, yeah, these moments are incredibly important. I need to make more time for these. Like, a sunrise and a sunset are free every day. And I thought, why am I not taking advantage of this? And, you know, and I've been down in San Diego for this whole pandemic. I have a place here and a place in LA. And it was so diving deep, line diving even specifically, but getting in the ocean, exploring, seeing little sea creatures, like I just felt like there's this, I also was reading books on diving, and it just became about curiosity and exploration and It wasn't result oriented. It wasn't something that was about achieving something, for the long term. It was just about following this thread of curiosity and being really present. And in the fluidity of water, I think, I don't think it's an accident. I believe, to get all like woo woo, but like, there, water as an element is very feminine. It's, salt water is this perfect existence and balance to like allow for all of this life to exist in it. And I think something about, I was able to dive 33 meters, which is 108 feet.
That's nuts.
It's pretty dope.
It's
on a
crazy.
single breath.
That's nuts.
I know. It's like, what? And hold my breath for 4 minutes and 5 seconds, which I know I can do better.
Truth be told, the other day I was trying to hold my breath just as a means of trying to come to this conversation and make myself sound cool. I learned that I'm not cool. I was probably able to
You're so cool. You're so cool.
I mean, I'm cool, but like, I'm not hold my breath for 4 minutes cool. I was like, I think I got to probably a minute, and I'm genuinely interested in learning what is that secret to just being able to kind of, in the end of the day, it's mostly mind controlling, because
It is.
Isn't it true that your body can naturally hold your breath for like 5 minutes, but it's the mental bits behind it, correct?
I mean, I think so. I think there's definitely like, obviously physiological factors, but I was able to teach my husband how to hold his breath for 3 minutes.
Oh, wow.
On the first try. And I was like, it's about feeling safe. It's about trusting your body. It's about having safeties in place so you can push your limits. But also, it's a mental game. It's absolutely a mental game. And I think that's why I fell in love with freediving, because to dive, there's like a mammalian dive reflex that happens, but there's also, when you go deep, there are physiological things that happen to your body. So you actually are more comfortable at the bottom, because as the volume of the ocean increases, on your body, more oxygen molecules, huzzah. But then when you come back up, the opposite happens. So most people black out if they black out within the top, like I think it's like 15 feet.
Interesting.
So there's technique, there's all of these things that you learn. However, every time I've hit a personal best, what I love about it is my attitude is like everything disappears, and I'm just looking at the line going, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, and just enjoying that ride. And every personal best has been a surprise that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm here already. I guess I'll go back up.
Yeah.
And there's something about that taught me, and you'll feel contractions, and it's not, comfortable, and your brain's going, what the fuck are you doing? Like, breathe, or go up fast and now. And the truth is whenever you want to, I think it was like Kimmy Werner had this great TED talk, and it was like, whenever you feel like you should speed up, slow down. Because if you're trying to speed up because you're afraid, or you're reacting to all of these like, impulses and terrible feelings that are happening, physiologically, you're going to kick faster, and then you're going to burn through your oxygen faster, and you might black out if you're having, contractions.
Yeah.
But also, you're okay. You actually start to, I'm saying this of me, it's like my brain's like, oh, that's just happening. Like, okay, yeah, my body's shaken, or okay, my legs are feeling burn. Okay, that's happening.
I wonder
it's
how
like
much
observing yourself.
Yeah, I wonder how much of your training as an actor prepared you for that level of emotional fortitude and control in that.
Yeah, I do think that like there's I mean, I'm a believer. Like I've had like, I'm brown, so I'm always like dying or pregnant or like dying pregnant. I'm like, can I just do a comedy?
God.
I'm like, can I not die this time? Uh, Poor, beaten up. Like, when do I get to? And but there is a thing of going there that I do believe, and I've set up like rituals for myself because I want to keep myself healthy, that like my body doesn't know the difference. My brain can go, this is pretend, but I've also just like played a mental game in a way to put my body still, when you cry, you cry. When you feel anger, you feel anger. And that my body felt that. It was real to my body, even though my mind's like, yeah, but that you didn't actually die. You didn't actually lose a child. You didn't actually XYZ. You didn't actually, weren't molested. You didn't actually. But in order to, I think, the show I was doing in San Francisco, it was 9 shows a week of both, fighting for the rights of sovereignty rights and for missing and murdered Indigenous women, basically on stage in a giant Supreme Court speech every night, as well as getting raped on stage every night. And it was like, okay, my body doesn't know that this isn't real. So how do I let my body feel the things and allow it to leave? And also do that over and over and over.
Wow.
Because
Yeah.
it's, and I do think that there's a resilience both in that, in meditation. I've done like a 10-day silent retreat in Joshua Tree, like no reading, writing, exercise, like 11 hours a day meditating. I'm very extroverted, like not seeing anyone.
I am
It's a lot.
so impressed.
Yeah.
I am so impressed.
I just like to throw myself into things that are uncomfortable, so that I can kind of observe myself and go go, oh, that's what I do, and learn more about myself. And I guess I like change and I like uncomfortable situations as long as they're have healthy bumpers on the bowling lane, and that I feel will allow me to learn something new.
Yeah. I mean, you are, I think, making just you as a person are making so much more sense to me about where that adventurous spirit actually comes from and what you are like, what you really focus on. And especially, I wanted to bring this around to talking a little bit about sci-fi and you just as a storyteller. And I wanted to ask a little bit about, first things first, just asking about the origin of sci-fi and just diving into these worlds. What do you feel that experience or what you relate to the most with that genre in particular?
Oh man, my husband loves sci-fi. Like he definitely, I won't even lie, I had never, and he was like, "You're so young," and I was like, "I mean, I'm not that young," but my parents censored my television when I was younger, uh, so they just made a crazy person who had to have an imagination. But I had never seen Aliens. Can you believe it? I was like, what? Which is like one of the greatest. But I also, of course, I'd seen The Abyss. I love The Abyss.
Yeah.
But I love sci-fi. Because, and this is my hey, television world, sci-fi better be diverse because it's the future. And let's look at demographics and like people are intermingling. If that was like a 50s word, oh, the races are intermingling. Like all different kinds of families exist now, and in the future, that's going to be what actually exists. And then we'll probably find a new way to, discriminate against each other because humans. But I hope not. Sorry, just go down
Fingers
that road.
crossed. Let's have optimism here, please.
I know. Hopefully we learn, but we'll live longer, which will help us learn. But what I love about sci-fi is, as a mixed woman of color, as a person who's like had all of these foots in different realms, both in the LGBTQ plus community, in the Hispanic community, in the Asian community, in the Indigenous community. I'm white too. Like, my husband's black. Like having had all of these experiences and being a military brat, I just realized like, man, I get to be a part of all these intimate conversations because there's pieces of me in all of these groups. And then you go, wait, nobody's talking to each other. And then we make stories of the present day by people who aren't necessarily living inclusive lives. Like, I have no choice. Like, I'm never going to be the majority in the room, ever. No one's going to ever be me. But I would also argue that no one will ever be you, Byron, and no one will be you, Mike. That maybe there's these outward signifiers, but within us are multitudes. And I'm just lucky enough because of how I look, because of how I identify, that I get to witness the multitudes intimately and then share them. And sci-fi is the place that I get to make up the rules. If we do historical pieces, I didn't make those rules. Like, even the rules of the world now, the things that we have to navigate, like, I didn't get to make those rules. I'm working within the confines and constraints and trying to break through those rules. But story creation and sci-fi in particular is a place that is like the intersection of technology and history, and also like whatever I want the world to look like. And the freedom of that is fucking awesome. It's just awesome.
What would you say your approach is to, in sci-fi, anything is possible?
Yeah.
Like, what would you say your approach is to really creating these stories or characters? Do you have that sort of checklist that hits the Liz Francis mark, or is it just
For sure
sort of inspiring, whatever at the moment?
Well, I mean, I love sci-fi and I love concepts, but my favorites are things that are like character driven, because for me, yeah, technology is cool, but it's honestly it's really not that interesting to me without like, what is the effect on the human? That's, we got iPhones, kids, back when we were what, like, when did the iPhone, college? The iPod came out.
College or like late high school.
Yeah. Like, we got cell phones, but then smartphones came along, and I'm like, when they invented that, or invented Facebook, we had no idea at that time how that would change the world. It has literally changed us as human beings, of how much we like intellectually digest, where we put our feelings, how we interact with one another. And like, the best sci-fi, my approach is always to start with the person and their problem, or to start with the technology and go, now what's the problem that this could create? And also, what's the solution? What's, like any tool, fire can keep you warm. It can also burn the house down. And technology and sci-fi, to me, like, my approach is, okay, great. What are the positives? What's the like whole story of this piece? And how does it exploit the good and the bad in a character? Not even good and bad, the complexities and hardships, the wants and needs, and how those things are at odds in a character. And then, great, let's throw them on that trajectory and like go on that journey.
I really love sci-fi that, like, because you're talking about like solutions. I think good sci-fi has multiple solutions to the same problem, and those
Totally.
like, the conflict of the story becomes about how characters, one, have formed an ideology around that solution, and how they're either willing to work together in spite of disagreeing with each other, or how they are just never going to see eye to eye because of it. And I can see that as like such a huge reflection of where we are at in the conversation around diversity right now.
Totally right. There's beautiful. I think there's wonderful things. Like, it's given. I mean, social media has kind of given away the gatekeepers' keys and allowed people who have never really been able to organize and connect in a way to unify and to share their stories. On the other hand, it also, and this is just my perspective, sometimes is also used as a substitute for real nuanced communication.
Yes.
And that is the problematic part of it for me, is yes, there's an overarching problem, whatever that may be, whether it involves like, gender and, pay inequity or LGBTQ rights, people feeling seen, bathrooms, obviously Black Lives Matter, like police brutality. But the conversations, we think that we're having actual conversations in the comment boxes instead of doing what you guys are doing on this podcast, which is storytelling, I think they're different. For me personally, of what I've witnessed and been a part of and championed too, is I can both see the problem but also see the person. And we're all conditioned, even myself, in certain ways. And we're all trying, I think this generation is desperately trying to get deconditioned, hopefully. Or we're reconditioning ourselves in other ways. How do we have those conversations that my friend and I, who we're writing something together, and it's a drama, and it has to do honestly with it's a story around a girl who is mixed race, adopted in Minneapolis in the 80s, and it has a lot to do with race and inequity at that time, and she grew up during that time there, and we've talked a lot about this in our own process of making this story. What are our own biases? Like, we've had the time to spend on that. And also, like, what are the things that we've faced and experienced simply because of what we look like, or because we're female or identify as female. And what we kept talking about is there's I personally feel like there's different spaces for different conversations. There's a space for the people, the victims of trauma, and that is a certain space, and that's a space where people need to feel seen and heard and safe, and it's important. And then there's another space, and that's for the people trying to understand what that thing over there is, because they genuinely want to understand. And sometimes that gets messy, or that gets, triggering, and those are different spaces. And then there's this space where people who have experienced trauma have processed and know how to take care of themselves, and the people who are trying to learn are ready to engage in an empathetic way. And those are the inclusive spaces. Like, those are the places where we all come together and go, man, I don't know what it's like to be, I'm always like, I don't know what it's like to be a straight white guy. I have no idea.
Why not?
I tried. It didn't. Apparently, I'm not that good of an actress.
Let us tell you.
But I don't know what that's like. So in a way, my empathy is I know my own hardships, I know my own struggles, and I know what honestly I've also adopted for myself that maybe the world's told me I should adopt that doesn't actually exist in my world. And at the same time, I've had my whole life to know that I'm never going to be the majority in a room. So I've had my whole life to struggle with my identity up to this point, and always in new ways and always in new iterations. I can't imagine the wake-up call, what it is to be 30, 45, 50 as a straight white male, and have all the signifiers in the media or statues or that say you're the hero, you're supposed to be the hero of the story. And then suddenly it's all ripped away and go, maybe you're the bad guy, and have an identity crisis when you're like, but I'm already a fully formed adult, right? Like, wait, now the world's telling me I'm this. What does that mean? Like, I don't know what that's like. I've had all this time with it,
I mean, I can at least say on a personal note, Mike, I don't know how you feel about this or where you're at, but I feel like there is at least some degree in my life where, and especially my motivation of doing this podcast with Mike and our friends, is because I myself have been at some level a victim of straight white maleness in that culture, and have had, not to I can't claim to have any kind of greater extent than a person of color or a woman or whatever, but like, I know that there's a degree at which it's affected my life enough that I have a level of sympathy that I can bring into a conversation to know, like, I'm here to listen and learn. because that's all I want. I just want to know, how can I be better, and how can I be a better ally?
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. And I want the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
I want to be allies to my communities. I want to be an ally to communities that I am not, a part of. And I do think being mixed is sort of, it's like you straddle many worlds. So it's kind of like feeling, there's definitely been earlier times in my life where I felt like, oh man, I don't know if I belong anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no group that it fully encompasses me, but what that does is forces me to see myself and the likenesses between all people, and it look, every aside from like physical safety, which I think the hardest struggles in the communities that are being like talked about a lot come down to physical struggle and a history of that. And I mean, like, not physically being safe, whether it's missing and murdered Indigenous women, the Black communities. Also, I have, relatives that are police officers too. So I understand all of these complexities and go, okay, so if we can understand your struggle and this struggle, then maybe that's like, Byron, what you're talking about, like, I could sit here or we could argue, oh, who struggles harder, but I don't know that that's going to get me anywhere or you anywhere
No, it's
better.
not productive.
Yeah.
It's not learning, it's complaining
Yes.
in a way. But there's, Liz, I'm kind of right there with you of my dad was a cop.
Yeah.
Like retired cop and everything, who worked in a city that was very diverse and had a lot of things going on. And I've had many conversations with him specifically about just the trials and tribulations that he has had to go through as a cop,
Yeah.
the trainings and everything that they should go through and what they have gone through. But also, like, at the end of the day, it's also just mental characteristics as well.
Yeah. I
of
mean,
a
right.
bit of everybody involved. But there are people who are straight up assholes who should not be in those positions. But
And I talked to a guy who was, I think I told you guys this, like, I've actually found myself surrounded by a lot of very, like, conservative, like, white dudes
Yes.
lately. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, that's so funny, because here I am, this little, like, socially liberal fairy that's like, yay! And they're
Yeah.
like, I just want to, like, and I really think underneath it that I'm like, oh, you're trying to understand your place in all this, and you do need someone that looks like me to talk it out with, because thank God for therapy, because I've spent time so that I know how to take care of myself in this
Yeah.
conversation, and I don't have to agree with you, but I can still respect you. And I think there was a guy I was talking to when I was freediving in Mexico, and he was talking about his time in the military and how hard he had it growing up, and he was asking, he goes, man, he's like, and I was like, well, what is it? What are you struggling with? And he was like, he said, I hate this whole thing about white privilege. And I was like, okay, what do you hate about it? I really am curious. Like, I'm like, I want to know, because I don't. I'm like, all right, like, what do you hate about it? Maybe I mean a different thing than what you think I mean or someone else means. And he was like, he told me about his story, his own personal story, and how he struggled and how he, like, literally would have been, like, killed from, like, gang violence where he grew up, and joined the military to escape it. And at some point I was like, so let me get this straight. So you do, what it is you've had your own struggles, and you don't like being identified as something, or who you are presumed, especially being a negative presumption about you, simply because of what you look like. He goes, yeah. And I was like, that's exactly how my husband feels. Isn't that interesting? And suddenly we're having a conversation, and he feels understood. And I'm not saying everyone is ready or should do how I was able to speak with him. But then he was able to tell me about his time in the military. And I said, man, I can't imagine. I said, I've never done a job where like I get to fake it on television, but I've never done a job where my life and the life of the people next to me is in danger every single day, and I'm being given orders to kill people, and I cannot, and I have to do it. I've never been in a position where I've been trained to do these things, and I can't imagine the mental and emotional toll that that takes on someone. And then to be asked, hey, by the way, just come be a normal person again. Come be a member of society who gives a shit about that dinner's ready at 5 p.m. And I think of cops in the same way, that like there are bad cops, and the system absolutely needs to be reformed, and we do need to put funding into Black and brown communities so that healing can happen there.
But you want to know what? One of the things that I have always respected about you is
Respect
that
me. No, respect.
I respect you as a strong, independent woman who don't need no man. But
I don't need no man.
But you got your husband, and he is a very good guy. But one of the things that I have always respected about you is your ability to just kind of listen and learn and just kind of grab those little details. And to me, in that way, and something that I just kind of pieced together I've nicknamed you Lisbeth Croft, because you're able to go out and you're not just exploring people and their personalities and stuff, but you're also sort of an explorer throughout everything. You're going out, you're diving deep, and you're looking and seeing how far you can personally go. When you're writing these characters, you're diving deep into the mindset and just kind of exploring where the story can go. Is there anything left, or is there that one thing that you hope to explore to just kind of find and discover? What's next on your bucket list for exploration?
Yeah, I mean, it's endless. It's this book that I was reading during pandemic 2020. Into 2021.
We don't say that year anymore.
No, it's still that
it's like
year.
Voldemort.
We're just not going to talk about it. Yeah,
we just don't talk about it. In the year of
that
Voldemort,
shall not be named.
There was this book that I read by this woman who is like the foremost like female cave diver in the world, and the first line of her book, because it was so impactful, I was like, and it just met me, you know, when things just meet you at the right time. It met me at the right time. And she said, if I die, it will be in the most beautiful place that no one has ever seen.
I love that.
And I was like, to me, when I think about like how I do life, it's what is the thing I'm just, because the spirit of curiosity, and I have lost it at points in my life, I honestly, in an effort to achieve and reach a goal. And I actually have a little meme to share with, I brought it today. I brought, show and tell. I brought a show and tell today.
Let's go.
But I feel like it's always going to be ever evolving. Like, who knows? Like, if I'm fortunate enough to become a mother, if I'm fortunate enough to sell a show, there are all of these things that I will not know, that I do not know until I get there. And the only thing that I can do best is be my spirit of curiosity, like these beautiful places inside of me that just Mike, just like you, Byron, just like you, that you can tell me all day all of the things that you've explored, and we can share that. But I'll never experientially know. Mm-hmm. It's just for you. It's just, there's some part of it that it will always be just for me, and that's satisfying enough. And I just think there's a real innocence to curiosity. There's a real positivity. There's a real well-intentionedness to curiosity, whether it goes well or not, that is, that's so beautiful. And that's how I think of work, whatever I'm doing, whatever that looks like, I just really firmly like believe in the beauty of the possibility of every moment. Like, I didn't know what we were going to talk about when I came on here today. I had
Neither
no
did
idea.
we. We had no idea either.
We didn't.
I had no idea. And then it's like, because of who you guys are, infused with, who I am, and like, shout out to Wes, who I know is somewhere like era DJing this whole conversation. That's as good as it gets. I actually can beatbox. I got you. That, like, that's where you go, man, I dove in the ocean, and little did I know 6 months later I'd be diving 108 feet deep, or that I'd want to. There's always there's a calculated cost. There's a calculated risk. I think to a lot of the things that I do, being an actress, it's not a guaranteed career at all. But also, like, my husband and I were just talking about this, and I was like, nothing is guaranteed, as we've learned from the year that shall not be named.
Yeah.
Nothing is guaranteed. And so if nothing's guaranteed, how do you both, be a loving, responsible human being, go on your journey, do all the things that you need to do to take care of yourself, but give yourself the space to be surprised. I love being surprised. I love it.
Liz, we have approached the end of our time together, but I want to know, what is your future good? What's coming up for you? What can we tell all the Phil Goody Two Shoes that are out there?
Yeah.
All 10 of you. What's going on in the world of Liz Francis?
Hey, I can share, I can't share specifics yet, but I can share that I will be a video game character.
Oh, shit.
Ooh, I can share,
Cool.
that's like super cool and badass. I can share that I, in a specific form, will be a superhero. I can share that I am super excited I have a drama and a sci-fi that I'm, knock on wood, hoping to take out and sell and have it in your homes, on your screens. And I'm also hoping to dive deeper, and I am going to be in this first like all women spearfishing tournament next week in Baja.
Oh my God.
And of course, me being the storyteller I'm like, this is a show, all these like awesome female spiras and diving, and we're documenting it. So we're gonna like shoot a sizzle.
That's so
I'm
cool.
just so stoked. I mean, because who doesn't want to be a mermaid?
Dude, who doesn't
Right.
want to be like Aquawoman? Like, just straight up taking your trident and
Right?
piercing a fish.
Yeah, because I feel like mermaids used to be branded as like, one day I'll be whole and I'll grow legs and be in a man's world, and like they're ethereal and like nymphish. And now it's like, no, mermaids are like badass. Like, they've got their own tridents, and they're like, down there in the deep. Like they're
Hell yeah.
free. They're, individual. Like we're rebranding mermaids, kids.
Somebody has to. It's about damn time. And I
really
couldn't
is.
think of anybody better than you, Liz. But Liz,
you.
where can people find you on the social medias if they want to learn more about your projects and all that kind of stuff?
Truth be told, think I've killed all the socials except for Instagram, because I believe in whatever makes me sane. And clearly I'm not, so it's really an effort. But I'm on the Instagram at eFrances, FRANCES, the feminine, 03. That's
nice.
You'll see me, I don't know, posting pictures of, my stylist friend making me look much better than I do. And like smoke and mirrors, and dressing me better than I will dress myself. And then like me underwater and having a blast.
Nice.
I like to have fun wherever I go.
Well, it's been fun. It's been a blast. And thank you for being
Really,
here.
thank you so much.
Dudes, thank you. This is such an awesome podcast, and also now I'm curious if I can grow a beard like Byron.
You can.
We'll trade tips.
No. I believe it's about patience and beard oil.
The beard oil makes it all. But
It makes it all.
Liz, thank you so much. Toodles McDoodles.
Toodles McDoodles, kids.
And
Stay
then-
safe. Don't run over any four-leggeds. Don't talk to strangers unless they have a smile on their face.
Wow. Holy crap.
Holy crap!
I know. I was serious when I said I haven't laughed so much in a very long time.
Yeah, we had some parts that we had to cut out because we were laughing too much and it was not registering. But oh my god, was Liz a delight?
Right? I mean, so Mike, I have to ask, what was your takeaway from our conversation with Liz?
I mean, where to start? Liz is an incredible human being, simply because, and what my takeaway is her ability to put herself into uncomfortable positions and find that way to get through it. Like her ability to take on these roles that are, like, say, of like characters with trauma, and being able to sort of embody that, but then at the end of the day find that way to just turn it off. Like, how does one do that? I have a little bit of acting in me, but god damn, that's amazing that she can do that. And then also with her ability to push herself farther and farther with free diving and being able to kind of control your mindset as you're going through this and telling yourself you're okay. That takes skill, that takes determination, and
That takes so much discipline.
it does. And the fact that I think I've mentioned this before, like, I don't do resolutions, I do yearly themes. And like my 2021 theme is just fucking do it. Doing those things that, sometimes you've said you wanted to do it and then you just go off and you're just going to fucking do it. She has that ability to just do that all the time. And I find that so incredibly motivating. And props to you, Liz. Props to you.
Seriously.
Also, I gave her $1.
I was about to ask, did you pay her?
I did pay her $1. I'm a man of my word.
The fuck out of that $1.
She did. She sure did. But Byron, what did you take away from this episode?
So I think, so something I hold personally important, especially as a survival skill, is storytelling. So it was really refreshing to hear her talk about storytelling from that same perspective, especially the perspective of how she is using it to advocate stories of women and people of color, and just the importance that she puts on everyone's stories. I think it's, especially when we are talking about storytelling, we're talking about storytelling in 2021, and it is important to be telling stories of disenfranchised persons. It is still very impressive to have someone come along and say, well, yes, we like these are important, but we cannot forget about the stories of these people as well, because they form the other side of the context for these other stories, and they're just as important. And the fact that she can see all sides of it and put it on everyone's story on the same level, I think it makes her just a better creative person. But just also, like, basically, like, I see a lot of her positivity come from this place and excitement from talking to people. I think also, like, her talking to the army vet who and just that story in itself, and where they were able to see eye to eye. I think it takes incredible discipline, because I think
It does.
another person would look at that guy and go, "Are you serious? Like, do you not hear yourself right now?" But I think like I love these kinds of conversations, and she's, I think, the perfect person to have these conversations with.
But even then, like, I think to just bring up that point, and if there's any takeaway that anybody should take from this episode, it's the fact that we need to have more conversations and
Yes.
dialogue instead of reactions and more defensiveness.
Yes.
Be able to listen to one another, chat with one another, get to know one another, find that common ground so that we don't have to be so freaking divisive in 2021 and in the future. If we want to make any
Absolutely.
change, we need to work together.
I hope we're able to bring that for people on this podcast, because that's something I know, like, you and I, we talk about all the time, and it's something that we actually like talk about with great excitement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Basically, our unofficial mantra of the show is do good, feel good, get good. So,
Yep.
like, do good to others, make you feel good, and then eventually you might get good. So, but Liz Francis can be found on social media, or she can be found on Instagram at efrancis03 if you want to give her a follow and take a look at all of her shenanigans that she gets into, like her spearfishing competition that she's about to get into.
I'm
And
still waiting in front of my couch for that show.
dude, that's gonna be so badass. I
I
cannot
know.
wait.
I can't wait.
It's gonna be so good. But everybody, remember, rate us 5 stars. Find us on whatever podcast thing that you go on and just rate. Please, you have no idea how much it helps. And like, subscribe. Find us on Instagram at FillGoodPod, or you can email us at FillGoodPodcast@gmail.com if you have any questions or you just want to say hey.
We want to give a quick shout out to our crew, our producer, Alexia VanWaes, who is our resident chaos wrangler.
Yes, we also have our Q&A specialist, Elisha Underwood, who is making sure that we don't sound like complete idiots.
And our tech guru and resident audiophile is Wes Underwood. Now that we're at the end here, we'd love to give a quick shout out to Katie Champagne. Earlier in her episode, we were talking about that she has a podcast coming out.
She does.
Well, now it's out. Her podcast is dropped.
Will
And
they,
it is
won't
here.
they?
Will they, won't they?
So excited. Everybody,
It
please go give
is.
that a listen to, because
Go
Katie
and
is a
find them on
delight.
Yes, they have a few episodes out right now, and her co-host Danielle, they're delightful people. They're talking about your favorite rom-coms, all of the problematic things with them, all of the things they loved about them. Just, if you love rom-coms, go and check this out. This podcast is for you.
I'm about to listen to the Miscongeniality episode right now. So we should go, Byron.
Yeah, we should probably go and listen to this podcast, and we will catch y'all on the flip, flip.
You know, one day we gotta actually do like the flippity flop to like the actual time signature of our outro.
I
Just
no, never.